pineal gland, or pituitary? Which one is the true third eye? For more than a century, the serious occult traditions have flatly contradicted each other on exactly that question. Open one and it tells you the third eye is the pineal, deep in the center of the head. Open another, just as old, and it says the opposite. The third eye is the pituitary and the pineal is the crown. In December 2006, at a week-long sacred geometry intensive, Dr. Robert Gilbert resolved it, not by picking a side, but by showing it was never one gland against the other. Both belong to a single hidden chamber at the center of your head, and by the end, he'll guide you to feel it for yourself. Gilbert doesn't begin with the glands. He begins with geometry, with 3 lines of energy that run through the head and cross at a single point. Get the structure first, he taught, and the old confusion dissolves on its own. The first line is the one many meditators already know.
Okay, what I would like to do now is we're going to do a little something more with the head currents. And so for this, I want to make you aware of these 3 axes of energy that are in the head to the back of the head here. And in some traditions, like particular Himalayan traditions, you would start doing the type of practice that we did the other day, in which at that time we closed our eyes, you did the friction breathing, and you put your attention at the frontal part of the third eye right here, just slightly inside the skull. And remember, we became aware first that there was a particular feeling right here, slightly inside the skull. There's like a feeling of pressure, or density, or vibration. And the more that we felt it, the more we moved our attention into the center of whatever we felt. And then it can begin to open up to the next layer, which will appear like color or light, as we go from the etheric with the vibration to the astral with the color or light. Once that stabilizes, you can move to the next part of the layer, which is the astral plane itself. Because of the first layers, you're actually within your own etheric body and your own astral body. But once you move to that level, within you get that dark purple overlay, you're beginning to then go into resonance and perceive the astral plane itself. Again, this is a dark purple light that's an overlay to everything that's perceived there at the third eye. But again, that's just working from the frontal third eye. And the third eye is a tunnel going from the front to the back of the head.
Follow that tunnel inward, Gilbert said, and you reach a powerful center deep in the middle of the head. And beyond it, at the very back, what the old traditions called the ancient palace, tied to the most primeval depths of awareness. That's one line. Now the other 2.
So this is one of the particular axes of energy. Another one is the vertical axis that's part of the central column of energy that we talked about the other day. The column of energy running through the center of the body, through the center of the head, and straight out the top of the head going upward. So this vertical axis coming down intersects the third eye tunnel at that same location in the center of the head we just talked about. And then we find that there's then a third axis within these centers around the top of the ears coming into the center that intersect the other 2 axes at this location in the center of the head. That is the third ventricle of the brain.
3 axes, front to back, top to bottom, side to side, meeting at one point in the exact center of the head. Hold that picture, because where those 3 lines cross, Gilbert said, there isn't a thing. There's a space, an open chamber at the center of the head. Modern anatomy has a name for it, the third ventricle. The Himalayan traditions had an older one.
And the third ventricle of the brain is also referred to as the cave of Brahma in the Himalayan tradition. It is actually an open space in the head that has an activity between the pineal and pituitary glands and other structures in the head that allows a particular field to develop between them.
An open space with 2 charged poles on either side of it and a living field developing between them. Keep those 2 poles in mind. They are about to settle a very old argument. Here is the disagreement that has run for over 100 years. Open one stream of the esoteric literature and it tells you plainly, the third eye is the pineal gland and the crown center is the pituitary. Open another, equally serious, equally old, and it says the exact opposite. The third eye is the pituitary, the crown is the pineal. Two traditions, flat contradiction. Gilbert pointed straight at the occult texts themselves and then resolved it in a single sentence.
And that's one reason why in some occult texts they will say that the third eye is connected to the pineal and the crown to the pituitary, whereas other occult texts will flip it and say the third eye is the pituitary and the crown is the pineal. Because actually both are involved in this field like an electrical charge, an electrical circuit to either side around this open space of the third ventricle.
Both. Not a contradiction, a circuit. The pineal and the pituitary aren't rivals for the title of third eye. They are the two poles of one charged field, sitting on either side of that open chamber. Every text that argued for one was simply describing a different end of the same circuit. The mystery wasn't a mystery, it was a pair. So what is this center for? Gilbert was specific. Work all three axes at once, not one in isolation, but the whole crossing. And you structure that chamber into a working center.
But if you work on all three axes simultaneously, you then create a particular structuring in the head, and you find that energy center in the very center of all three axes at the third ventricle, which is a very important center for internal alchemy and development of higher perception and awareness.
And it doesn't stop at the head. Gilbert linked this center upward, along the vertical column that runs up through the crown, to a platform of fast, geometric thought that sits just above the head.
That the packed thought forms we access here, when we develop the capacity to perceive the packed thought forms, which are highly geometric in nature, we can then get to the place that that packed thought form then begins to unpack and move down the central column, reaches the crown center, and begins to unpack into the firing of the neurons of the brain around the central place in the head.
That's the stakes. This isn't a curiosity about brain glands. It's the junction where higher perception and ordinary thinking meet. And Gilbert taught that the more you sensitize yourself to the movements of energy here, the more there is to notice for yourself. Which is why he didn't stop at the diagram. He had the room feel it. Gilbert calls what follows a compact version of a much larger practice. One of the three axes, the ear-to-ear line, used in some schools to balance the two hemispheres. Close your eyes if you can and follow him directly.
And put your energy and awareness right around the top of the left ear. And just visualize the form of a white sphere of light about the size of a ping pong ball around the top of the left ear. And then simply draw that white ping pong ball of vibrating light around the top of the left ear straight into the side of the head. So you can feel its vibration and light move into the side of the head. And now you're going to move it in a straight line from the top of the left ear into the head, straight into the center of the head, where all these three axes lines cross each other that we described before. And you're moving toward the top of the right ear. That's the axis you're working on. So from the top of the left ear, drawing the sphere of vibrating light into the head, feeling the activation of the left hemisphere of the brain as the sphere of light moves into it, continuing the movement until you reach the corpus callosum in the center of the head, and you're reaching this particular central portion of the head that we described before. See if you can feel what direction that sphere of light needs to move to nest in that open third ventricle of the brain. There's particular sensations that come with that sphere of light moving into the correct location. And then from this central place, go ahead and allow the sphere of white light to move through the right hemisphere of the brain, feeling the activation of the right hemisphere as the sphere of white light continues to the right until it emerges out the right side of the head above the right ear. And once you've got that, simply draw the sphere of white light back through the other direction. Top of the right here, into the right side of the head, toward the center of the head, then into the left hemisphere, and then to the top of the left ear and out the head. And when you're done, just spend a second with your eyes closed, asking how this practice has structured your body of energy. What's the sensation that accompanies it? Okay, and when you're done, you can snap the fingers, open the eyes. So that's one axis, and this is used in some schools to activate the two brain hemispheres and to balance them. You could also do the same thing with the front to back third eye tunnel, and from above the head, down through the crown center, and down into the body, crossing the same center.
One axis felt directly. The same sphere of light runs the other two, front to back through the third eye tunnel, top to bottom through the crown, each crossing the same center. One pass, and the chamber at the middle of your head is no longer a diagram. It's a place you've been.
What I want you to do just as a transition, because sometimes when you're not used to these practices, the amount of activation of energy in the head can feel a little odd. So what I'd like you to do is just a very quick practice from the White Cloud Monastery in China, quick Qigong practice, which is simply take the two hands and spend a moment just massaging the brow for a moment. And then go ahead and draw the fingers across the top of the head and down the neck and flick the energy down to both sides. So at this point, for at least 7 times, draw the fingertips across the top of the head and the hair, down the back of the neck, and flick the hands out. Just to help restore healthy circulation in the head.
So the third eye was never one gland against the other. It's a chamber, the meeting of 3 axes, charged on both sides, at the center of your head. The old occult texts could never agree on it. Gilbert drew it plainly, and then handed it to you to feel. If this is the kind of teaching you want more of, precise, tradition accurate, and verifiable in your own direct experience, subscribe. Dr. Gilbert's complete framework, including the energy body and the 3 centers, is laid out in the free ebook linked below at Vesica.org. There's much more of his work here, and we're going deeper.